Gary, great to see you.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
It's been about 8 months since I was last here, and I thought it was time to come in and get an update on how things are going with Nominum. Obviously, you're in a fantastically important part of the market. Last time I was here, we had this great conversation around this arc of value, which was a concept, almost a business philosophy for service providers that you'd come up with. And I understand that you've sort of developed the concept further in the last 8 months and really tied it to this digital transformation journey that service providers are on. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
So originally we used this term arc of value as an internal concept to really support the set of products that we delivered. And what we quickly realized in talking with the market is that we really built this digital transformation curve. So the technology allows our carriers to move from this, what we talked about last time, this low level, network-centric, engineering
Right.
people investing money to save money to create a very homogenized experience for carriers, to this digital transformation ideal they're chasing, which is business people investing money in the network to drive additional ARPU, to create a unique experience for subscribers. And that's really what this arc was all about. It was moving people through that much more quickly. And in describing that to our customers, they've come back to us and said, gosh, this is the digital transformation curve.
Right.
This is exactly the journey we're taking. So we've really started to use more of that terminology, digital transformation curve.
And it's a journey still, though, isn't it? It's a journey in terms of lower value to higher value. It's a journey from network-centric to subscriber-centric. But it's also, for service providers, it's a journey that all of the different departments within those organizations have to take at the same time, even though they're not used to being on the same bus together traditionally, right? And I think one of the things which is really clever about what you've done is the fact that you use DNS technology to sort of tie it all together for them. How does that actually work in practice?
So what we found in looking at this, the value creation, the traditional value creation of the telcos that we talked about was really in the hands of a handful of people. It was the network people, the engineering people, their ability to have very, very comprehensive infrastructure. To deliver this higher value digital service level to subscribers, you now expand beyond just the engineering team and the
Right.
network team. Security is involved today. The customer support people are involved. Customer service is involved. Marketing is involved. The analytics teams are involved. And so what traditionally happened, those are all separate entities. But to deliver this higher valued subscriber service requires that these different departments work more closely together.
Right.
And you start going down and say, okay, where's the common element that joins each of these disparate teams together? Is there a way to join those people in a single unified concept? And DNS, while traditionally has been thought of as a very low-level network element, is really the secret sauce that allows you to tie these teams together on a single unified platform.
Right. I mean, there's a couple of things which just jump out at me here. You really, it is this concept of DNS as the DNA of the network, the common bond which ties all of these things together. I mean, I think that's a really interesting concept. But the other thing which I've heard recently, which kind of popped for me from Nominum, is this concept of the digital transformation paradox. Can you tell me what that is?
So, I've been now here 5 years, and even 2-3 years ago, when we talk with our customers about these higher valued services, it was very interesting. We like it, but gosh, we're putting out fires. We're trying to build out the network. We're dealing with massive volume changes, Netflix. And so while the service provider market clearly understood where the market was heading, they're smart people, they knew this was happening, the attention was really on trying to build that efficiencies into their network. How do I keep up with doubling bandwidth demand? How do I do that with increases in ARPU, which are flat to a little bit up? And so that was a preoccupation, a necessary one. But what we've seen over the last year, particularly the last year and a half, we've seen service providers now saying, okay, now we've done that. We've built out enough infrastructure to handle this huge demand from the over-the-top players. Now it's our turn to start taking advantage of this digital transformation, and that's really, I think, helped fuel the growth of our business. Is that this paradox was, while they understood about digital transformation as being a huge lever in their business, they first had to handle the infrastructure impact that was happening from the over-the-top providers, and now they've been able to reverse gears now and make the investment for their direct benefit.
A lot of the customers that we talk to, service provider customers we talk to, are wrestling with the challenge of how to implement a DevOps model. Sounds like this could be a tool which helps them with that. Is that right?
Well, it's interesting. We've seen, if you think about I as a carrier, every year I've got to double my network capacity, but my revenue is not doubling.
Right.
So they're forced to look at how do I cut back? Where do I become more efficient? How do I become more efficient? And you've looked at virtualization of the network, and one of the casualties, I think, is this whole concept of carriers developing technology from scratch. I was recently in Europe, and the main selling feature the buyer was interested in, and he said, I do not want to own the product roadmap.
Right.
I can build this myself, I can get open source, I can cobble together, but then it becomes a very static delivery to my subscriber. I don't want to own the headache of product management and product roadmap. And I think that's been one of the casualties of the cost savings that carriers have had to go through. And if you look at what we've done, we've pre-built these pieces of the puzzle. If you think about what is involved with transitioning through this digital transformation, you need a very, very fast, reliable infrastructure. That's our Vanteo product. Once you build a network, it's going to get compromised. ThreatAvert allows us to protect the network from the inside out. Once you've built this capability, the next inclination is to provide protection for the subscriber. Or Engage Suite allows for the subscriber to be protected. Now that you're building this relationship, you want a direct way to communicate, and that direct communication happens with our Reach product. Now, none of that is unique and differentiated per se. Each of those pieces can be replicated through a third-party vendor. The issue is the DevOps, the people inside of these telcos have to maintain the integration, maintain revision levels, do internal testing and rollout. It's a massive, massive delayed time to value and a much higher total cost of ownership. The unique thing that we've done is we've integrated this into an integrated suite of products that allows the customer to now deploy very, very quickly high-valued services at a far reduced cost without owning the headache of the operational development, product roadmap. And it's really been one of the main reasons, I think, why we've been so successful.
Single pane of glass management across all of it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, that is an extraordinarily appealing story to service providers who we know are almost being put out of business by complexity, aren't they? So the fact that you're building all of this over this root DNS, common factor within all of their networks must be very appealing to them. How are service providers putting this stuff, these applications and services that you run over DNS to work in their networks? Are there any examples that you can share with us of that?
So on the security piece, so if you look at the value of N2, there's a number of areas of value creation. Security, there's customer service and support, there's customer experience management, there's bill collection, bill paying, marketing, promotions, compliance. And if you kind of look at that as a wheel, security is an example. We had a Latin American customer that had massive infection rates on subscribers, bot infections. They were having so much traffic. One example was amplification attacks. A very small DNS request comes in and it's amplified in the response. It swamped their network to the point where the help desk was being called off the hook with people complaining about performance.
Right.
They put in ThreatAvert, and those types of infections went down to nearly zero.
Wow.
The reduction in customers calling the help desk resulted in $3.8 million of reduced call volumes.
Wow. That's fantastic, isn't it? Yeah. Any other examples that you can share with us, Gary?
One of our customers, they had 8% of their subscribers paid late. And so over the years, they built a number of mechanisms to be able to collect that money: SMS messages, email messages, direct calls out to those customers. And it's interesting because when you're calling people or messaging people, it's not an imminent event. Reach allows us to present this bill in line while they're online on the internet in browser. And it's amazing when people receive this notification their bill was late, 60% of the people that received that message clicked and paid their bill immediately. That resulted in over $500,000 worth of savings directly of collections, but more importantly, the mechanism that they were using previous to using this in-browser messaging, they were able to reduce those costs. They saved $1.3 million annually
That's
in collection.
Unbelievable.
The cost of collecting those monies.
And it's perfectly logical, isn't it? Because it's an in-stream message in the service that you're using, and you're getting it immediately, aren't you? So you can see why it's so effective.
Exactly.
Very simple and elegant solution. Obviously, things are going really well for Nominum. What's next for your company?
What we've been working with is a concept that allows us to pull all of these disparate pieces into a single platform. We've done that. There's value in having that pre-integrated. Closed loops, for example, if I have a bot infection, I'm 3.8 times more likely to churn and 9 times more likely to pick up the phone and call the help desk of my provider. So not only do you want to use ThreatAvert as our example to notify, to actually identify the bot, you then want to go back into the DNS and tell the DNS, hey, you better block this transaction from happening because this command and control is trying to communicate with the subscriber. But if you stop there and fail to notify the subscriber, you run the risk of this high churn, and you run the risk of increased call volume. So we've built closed loops now. So ThreatAvert sees and blocks the bot. Vantio addresses that in the DNS, and then Reach is used to notify the customer.
I always am excited to talk to you, Gary, because I always learn so much when I'm here, and this has been no exception. And for our viewers at home, I just remind them that there's a wealth of information about Nominum and its approach to digital transformation on the Lightning site. Just enter Nominum in the search engine, and you're going to get 2 full index pages of incredible wealth of data about all of this technology and these solutions and this really business technology strategy. It's fantastic. It's a fantastic story. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Cheers.